This video is brought to you by the case that can increase your download speeds by up to 30%. Go to amidcasing.com for more information. And the ultimate iPhone warranty that protects your phone from drops, spills, and everything Apple will not. SquareTrade.com/TSIG. Hello folks, this is Quinn, that snazzy iPhone guy, and today we will be talking about Monster Cable, the evil cultish corporation which manufactures Beats by Dre headphones. No, but in all seriousness, if you own a pair of Beats by Dre headphones and you think they're fantastic, that's good. Continue on your ignorant little ways because this video will probably anger you about the several $100s you just wasted. In all seriousness, Beats by Dre are not terrible headphones. Granted, they are a very bad value and they are worth about a fourth of what you pay for them. So not only am I going to talk about the 3 factors in looking for good sounding audio, but I'm also going to talk about 6 different headphones that are in the same price range that have just as good and or in every case, a better output. So let's get started, and I want to talk about Monster Cable as a company a little bit. They started several years ago, and their name is Monster Cable. They manufactured cables for high-end stereo systems. Now, their initiative and their plan as the beginning of a company was to create the highest quality cables possible, but also keep them competitive with the other large companies. They wanted to destroy the monopoly that the audio industry was, and they wanted to create awesome cables at killer competitive prices. And that's what they did. For a few years, they were the cable. Now, this got a little bit to their heads, and they retained the same prices on their cables, but took the cost of manufacturing down, thusly increasing their profit margins. And hey, if the customer doesn't notice, what's the harm, right? Well, it got so bad that customers did notice, and the first real huge issue with Monster Cable was when they had an advertising venue in Best Buy. They were advertising their HDMI cables. This was way before Beats by Dre or anything like this, and they said, here's a regular HD compared to Monster HD. They had 2 TVs that were identical, playing from the same source. It was probably a HD DVD or Blu-ray player back then. It may have even been an upscale DVD. Truly, I do not know. But one was playing through a component cable. There was an analog component cable, and component cables can put out to about 720p in resolution. Now, HDMI cables, as we all know, can put out to 1080p. Now, back then, I think it was a 1080i cable, which between 720p and 1080i, there's pretty much not a big difference. However, there is a huge difference between component and HDMI. So, someone discovered this and went, what the heck, Monster? Why can you say, well, no, duh, yours looks better. It's exactly, if you were using a name brand cable or a generic cable versus a Monster cable, you probably wouldn't notice a difference. The reason you notice a gigantic difference is they're 2 different technologies. That's like saying, look how much faster this Ferrari is, and then in the other Ferrari, there's a Ford Taurus engine. So you have to kind of put this all relative, and that's when people got really sour with Monster Cable, and people thought, wow, they're a bunch of crooks. And sadly, this just kind of evolved. Now, let's talk about how Beats by Dre came about. Jimmy Iovine, who is the top dog at Interscope Records and has been working with Dr. Dre pretty much Dre's whole career, was talking with Dre about this line of sneakers Dr. Dre was going to put out. And Iovine said, what are you doing with these sneakers? This isn't your industry. You don't make sneakers. You're not an athlete. You're a rapper. You're an artist. You're a producer. And so Iovine, who I personally loathe, not love, loathe, as in hate. He's the epitome of evil, and I think he's the world's biggest douchebag. But all of that aside, he went on record and was very famous for saying, the sneakers, let's build speakers. So, that rudeness and swearing aside, he got his point across. He said, Dre, what are you doing? And that was, I think, pretty much the turning point for this whole Beats by Dre as we know it. Monster and Beats by Dre were both extremely intelligent when it came to advertising. Dre was a producer. He worked with so many different people, and so clearly he had hookups. He gave his rapper buddies, his music buddies, his hip-hop buddies, his rock buddies, he gave them all Beats by Dre, and soon you start seeing them popping up in music videos and on MTV and in commercials that rappers, oh my gosh, Beats by Dre are cool. And the fact of the matter is, so many people are so ignorant nowadays, they think there's really 3 types of headphones. There's the white earphones that come with your iPhone, Skull Candy, and Beats by Dre. There are so many different manufacturers in terms of headphones, and the top 3 right now are Sony, Skullcandy, believe it or not, since 2003, they've become the second largest in market share. I think they have 17 or 18% as of last year, so pretty impressive. And then it goes after there's Sony, there is Skullcandy, and then there's Bose. Bose has their own religious cult as well. And then number 4 is Dr. Dre. So in 2 years, because they released the original studios, which were just called the Beats by Dre back then, they released them in January of 2007 at the Consumer Electronics Show. So in just over 2.5 years, they became the 4th largest market share headphone company. They sold over 1.5 million units in 2009. Super impressive, very impressive. And their profit margins on those headphones, I'll tell you, are huge. But they worked with Monster Cable. They made these headphones look sweet. They were comfortable. They're all faux leather. And oh man, those are cool. But the fact of the matter is the sound is subpar. They're not good drivers. They're not excellent headphones. They're really loaded on the bass, which causes the headphones and the track to be muddy. They just do not sound good. I don't care if you listen to hip hop. I don't care if you listen to rap. There are other headphones out there that do a better job at hip hop and rap than the Beats by Dre. Now, the Studios and the Solos are the 2 main headphones that we see. The Solos are the $170 on-ear headphones, and I'll tell you right now, under no circumstances should you buy those. Even the HD, they just sound bad. The drivers are bad. You can find headphones that sound better for $30 at Best Buy. Do not buy them. Now, the Studio is a little bit more respectable because they have an active noise canceling feature. Now, I actually didn't even know they had active noise canceling until I read up on it the other day, and that's because the active noise canceling is really bad. Now, if you look at the Bose Quiet Comfort series, I'm not a fan of Bose either. 4-letter word in my mind, and it starts with an F. And well, rather an S in this situation. But basically what I'm talking about is they have their own religious cult, and people that love Bose and would never buy anything but Bose. And if you buy anything but Bose, you're a complete idiot because Bose is the best thing there is. Bose is a lot better than Beats by Dre in terms of the physical audio quality you get, but the reason they are well known is because of their Quiet Comfort series. Now, there's the Quiet Comfort 15 and the Quiet Comfort 3. Those are their 2 main selling headphones. The Quiet Comfort 15 are $199, I think, and then the 3s are $399. So there are 2 pretty different price points there, but Bose has really perfected their active noise canceling technology. Now, for those of you that are saying, what is that? What it does is those are the battery-powered headphones. When you see battery-powered headphones, they use more than likely active noise canceling features, unless they have an amp built into them, which you see sometimes, but it's pretty rare. I thought the Beats by Dre had that, but it turns out they don't. It's actually an active noise canceling feature. So that's why the Bose sounds so butt before you turn the active noise canceling on, is because there is no isolation in the cups. Part of the reason they're more comfortable is because they're not squeezing your head, because they don't need to create a seal. Whatever technology Bose uses, I don't know, I'm not an audio engineer, but the fact of the matter is those batteries power the headphones so that it isolates you from the outside. Kind of. The problem is it compromises the audio quality. There's not as good bass response and there's not as good treble response. So you get headphones, but they don't sound as good as they could if it was passive isolation. Now, passive isolation or passive noise canceling is what a lot of manufacturers have used to. If you guys remember, active noise canceling was all the rage a few years ago, and pretty much everyone but Bose and Beats by Dre have moved away from this because it's not the best way to do stuff. Audio-Technica, Sennheiser, they still do a few noise canceling things, but they really are pretty rare because it destroys the authenticity and the flat equalization of the track. So passive noise canceling is when it just isolates your ear. Go ahead, hold your hands over your ear, and talk. Drop something on the floor. You can't hear it as well. So that's what these newer headphones do, is they create a very, very good seal around your ear. Is it totally quiet? Can you still hear stuff in the background? Can you hear the airplane? Yeah, but when you turn your music up halfway, you're not going to hear anything but your music. And when you have this passive technology, they're not focusing so much on getting the outside noise out, but the inside noise inside your ears. So there is more focus on the frequency response, and you'll notice that those headphones sound a lot better. So if you are looking for total active noise cancellation and your heart's set on it, go and get the Quiet Comfort series from Bose. Do not buy Monster Cable Studios because they don't do a good job of it. Quiet Comfort from Bose has gotten very good at taking out all the extracurricular sound that's created from this. If you put on a Beats by Dre and you don't listen to anything, you'll notice there's a slight hiss in the background. That's the poor active noise cancellation at work, and it just doesn't sound good, and you don't get a very good frequency response. So that's kind of the background behind Beats by Dre. I'll talk about the Studios and the Pros. The Studios are okay headphones. I'm not going to say they're pieces of crap because they're not, but they are certainly not worth $250 or $300. I forget which one they charge. $250, I think. Even for $200, even for $100, they are not a good value. If you get a pair of Beats by Dre Studios for $100 or less, go ahead. Buy them. You can't be too disappointed. There are better options out there still for less than $100, but I don't think you'll be disappointed. They're decent headphones. Now, as for the Beats by Dre Pros, I was actually fairly impressed with those. Those are the new $450 over-ear studio headphones, which are used by DJs. I doubt any serious musician actually uses them, but they're marketed that way, so it must be true, right? If a company tells us that, it can't be false. No, but they did sound pretty good. The bass response, obviously, in the Monster cables was the emphasis. That's with all the Beats by Dre models. And it sounded better than most. It sounded better than about $150 to $200 headphones. So, all right, so let's talk about the three factors in finding a good pair, well, not even a good pair of headphones, but a good sound setup. Now, first, it's the track. Now, the track is the source. It can be analog, like a CD or a vinyl or a cassette. You wouldn't want to use a cassette, but vinyl or a CD. CD is the best quality you can get. Pretty much, if you talk to anyone who's a professional, they'll tell you CD far and above, even though vinyl's making a comeback. Or there is a digital way of doing things. Obviously, what you'd get from iTunes or Amazon or torrenting. Other ways like that. Now, there are different bit rates when it comes to digital quality. Now, a bit rate is kilobits a second. That's how it's measured. And the higher the number, the better quality sound. Lossless is several thousand kilobytes. And unless you have a seriously good setup, you won't notice much of a difference. Now, when iTunes first came out and when it had copy-protected music, or DRM, if you remember that, it was awful stuff. They had 128 kilobit music. That doesn't sound good. It's not very good. Now, if you jump up to 256, which is what Amazon is right now, and which is what iTunes is right now, unless you have a really good setup and a really good audio player, in terms of mobile audio players, you're not going to notice a difference. Now, if you had a Zune HD, which actually does produce a pretty good playback, we'll talk about iPods in a minute. If you had a Zune HD and you had a 256 kilobit track and a 512 kilobit a second track, you would notice, if you had good headphones, that the 512 is ever so slightly better. So in terms of that, iTunes is fine to buy music. What I do, and I have my CD collection over there, is I buy CDs, whole albums, and then I burn them in lossless quality or flat quality or Apple lossless, pretty uncompressed audio into iTunes itself. Sure, songs are 60, 70, 80, 90 megabytes a piece versus the 5 that they are right now, but you do get a better sounding quality. Now, if you were to talk to an audiophile, if you told them 512 kilobytes a second, they would scoff at you. They would, what are you talking about? But they have a $20,000 setup or a $5,000 setup or even a $2,000 setup. They will have their computer, and it will be a USB or FireWire out to a mixing board. That mixing board will go to a headphone amplifier, and that headphone amplifier will go to your headphones. Now, that is an extremely difficult and easy setup. It's not portable. All you would do is sit at your desk and listen to music. So is it practical? No. Is it the best sound? Yeah, but who cares? If you can't go anywhere, then what's the point? So I'm assuming if you're looking at this, you just want to use it at the gym, or while you're riding your bike, or while you're sitting in your house, wherever. You want portability. You want headphones you can pull up, throw in a bag, and then stick on your iPod and play. So if you have an iPod, that's fine. If you have an iPhone, that's fine, but it's not the best portable media player in terms of playback. The audio quality on audio playback on the iPod and the iPhone is notorious for being pretty bad. Now, if you move to a Zune HD, or if you move to a Sansa, one of the more expensive other MP3 players, you get a pretty crappy UI. You don't get an excellent MP3 player, well, in terms of full features, but you will get a better quality sound. Now, unless you're buying $300, $400, $500 headphones, you're not going to notice the difference between your iPod and your Zune and the 256 between 512. But I can recommend that you do want at least a 250-bit, 256 kilobit a second playback or bit rate. That's my recommendation unto you. So we have the bit rate, aka the source, And then we have the player itself. I don't recommend iPods. If you have an iPod, that's fine. Unless you're going to spend several $100s, an iPod will do you just fine. And then, of course, the headphones. So let's talk about the headphones. And these are 6 headphones that I've gathered that are a much better value, and I highly recommend over that of the Beats by Dre. I've tried all of these. I've tried about 40 headphones over the last year, and these are what I've said. These are what I've thought for the price you pay are about the best headphones. Now these range anywhere from about 150 from where you'd start with the Beats by Dre Solos to about 450 where you'd be at with the Beats by Dre Pros. I don't have the prices because they fluctuate depending where you buy them online. I wouldn't recommend eBay, especially with the Beats by Dre, because they are fakes. Do not buy Beats by Dre from eBay. When I bought mine originally, there were no fakes. They had just come out. So I got an original pair from an audiophile who said these are garbage and sold them on eBay, and then I bought them for a pretty good price. There's a ton of controversy. Hey, these are fake, blah, 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 on my video. I sent them to Monster Cable. They verified to me that they were real, and then they sent them back and said, okay, go ahead, do your review. These are real headphones. I wanted to make sure that that was what I was getting. And, you know, like I stated back then, or I didn't know what was good and I didn't know what was bad, but now that I do, that's a whole different story. Let's talk about the 6 different headphones you can get that are of better value than the Beats by Dre. Any of them. So we'll go fast. I'm not going to tell you why they're better, but I will go into frequency response after I've told you them. The Beyer Dynamics DT770, the Denon AHD1100, and I'll put these all in the link below, by the way. And then the Denon AHD1001. These are a lot more expensive than the rest of the headphones. The 1001s are. The Audio-Technica ATH ES7s, the Ultrasound HFI 780. I guess I have 7 headphones. The Sennheiser 600. These are more premium. You're going to pay about what the name of the headphone is, about $600. So that's quite a bit more. And then the Grotto SR325IS. Grotto is very prestigious, but I actually don't like their audio that's cheaper than the SR325IS. They have a couple cheaper models, like under $300. I don't recommend them. If you want to spend less than $250, I can definitely recommend Audio-Technica, I can definitely recommend Sennheiser, and I can definitely recommend Beyer Dynamics. Ultrasound is very good as well. Denon's kind of hit or miss, Grotto's kind of hit or miss, Bose is definitely hit or miss. So it just kind of depends on the market you're looking for, but those manufacturers are good. Now let's talk about frequency response. Why are the Beats by Dre so sick? Why is the audio so stunning? Well, first of all, let me tell you the 2 people that watch my videos. There's these people.
And according to my calculations, the Beats by Dre don't have the certain impedance that the Sennheisers do, and therefore they're terrible headphones.
And then I get people like this. Yo, what are you talking about, you mother piece of These headphones are off the chain. If you be dissing Beats by Dre, I'ma kick your white and shove it up, mother. So I get the absolute nerds that are total audiophiles that trash on Beats by Dre, and then I get the people that have no idea what they're talking about and love Beats by Dre because they're endorsed by Dr. Dre himself. So what you're going to find in these headphones is a very low-ended or a very heavy frequency response in the bass, in the low end, and this isn't necessarily bad, but you will notice that with pretty much any other genre than hip-hop and rap, it's going to become muddled. And even in a lot of rap and hip-hop, when there's a lower frequency response and it gets too low, you'll notice that it's trying to pump it out too hard of those headphones, and you will get distorted audio. It just doesn't sound good. So if you're at the perfect temperature, if you're at the perfect moisture, no, I'm just kidding, but if you have the perfect song, the Beats by Dre do sound pretty good. If you get too low, if you get too hip-hoppy, if you get too rappy, they sound bad. If you do anything else than hip-hop and rap, they sound bad. So what you want is a flat frequency response. Now, if we started over here, trying to think, I guess it would be over here for you guys. If we started with a bass, mids, and trebs, the Beats by Dre start off, they have a really high low end, they're very powerful down here, and then they kind of flatten off and drop off. Kind of a downward slope. Now, there's a lot of headphones that are not very good. They're tinny. You'll find this with Skull Candies. They have a really good bass response, no mids, and then a really high, tinny, nasty sounding upper head. What we want is flat. We want the ability to adjust exactly what we want, and you can do that through your player's equalizer. On your iPod's equalizer isn't very good, but the Zune's is very good, as is Windows Phone 7 devices. It kind of depends the device you get, but that aside, you want something with a flat EQ, and all of these headphones I listed are flat EQs. You know, they're they're true to the track is what it's called. Now, true to the track isn't always the best sound, and you do want to modify and play with this a little bit. Obviously in rap, you're going to want some more bass. So in your equalizer, these headphones will give you more bass if you go into your EQ and say more bass. And they'll give you more trebles if you say more trebles. And they'll give you better classical sounding music if you say, I want classical music. It just these are more sensitive to equalizers than the Beats by Dre's are and Skull Candies are. Those are just low end, and when you try anything but that or a flat EQ, because their flat EQ is not flat by any means, but if you try any EQ other than off or flat, it's gonna sound really not good. So my recommendation to you is to not buy the Beats by Dre. I'm not a hater, I don't hate Monster Cable, I just think they're terrible headphones for the money you pay. If you can score some for 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 bucks, sweet deal. Put them up on eBay, resell them for 300, and then buy good headphones. No, but you could keep them, But if you find headphones that are, I would not go to Best Buy. I would not go to the Apple Store. I would not go to Target. I would not go to anywhere where they sell Beats by Dre and buy them. I can promise to you, and if you don't like these headphones, if you try one of these and you say, these are not better than Beats by Dre, we'll figure something out and you can punch me straight in the face. Because all of these headphones listed here are better than the Beats by Dre. That is my personal guarantee unto you. So I'm sure you want me to shut up by now. Don't worry, so did my camera. It decided to stop recording on me. Final conclusion, what I'm trying to convey with this message that is very long and insufficient, but what I want to tell you is that the Beats by Dre are a horrible value. Please do not buy them. Do not get confused. Do not get fooled by their clever marketing campaigns. They're not good headphones, and you can find much better for much less. Go to head-fi.org if you want. They're an excellent audiophile community. Don't let them talk in anything too crazy, but they'll hook you up if you're a noob with some pretty sweet headphones. And then those 7 I listed are all absolutely excellent considering their value, and I very highly recommend them. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay snazzy. See you later, folks.